Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is a topic dealing with an individual who has spent the last 24 years and 4 months in the Tennessee correctional system. 16 of those years on death row. And of course, we're talking about Mr. Richard Simon, who is partially visually impaired. I'm not exactly sure, Richard, whether we would say that you are partially visually impaired or that you are entirely visually impaired. But the fact is that you do not have all of your sight. Is that true in reference to that?
That's true. I'm severely visually impaired. Totally blind in my left eye, and a small amount of vision in my right eye.
And of course, Richard, let me thank you for being willing to come by and to talk to us this morning about some of the things that have been important in your life. I think, as we said when we introduced you, that you had spent 16 years on death row, and I certainly want to thank you for being willing to come by and to share some of those experiences with us. Let's start off by talking about some of the things in your life that eventually led you to the situations you found yourself in, Richard.
Well, Doctor, my life parallels like many other people we see on the news today. You start out as a young kid, being rebellious, trying to have some fun, and before you know it, you done got out of control. You have no self-respect, no respect for the law, no respect for your parents. I was raised by a single parent. My father died when I was 5 years old. So my mother raised 3 kids by herself. And with her trying to work and trying to keep us out the project, so to speak, we had a lot of free time on our hand. I think the term now is called latchkey kids.
Latchkey kids.
Yeah, so I think I was one of those kids. And I grew up, I thought normally, but when you crash out like I did and end up in prison, it's abnormal living. And so I just grew up with very little, I had a good guidance system with my mom because she was a church-going lady. She worked hard, but with me being, I guess, a young man with no role model in the house, so to speak, because my mother never remarried, I was kind of fending for myself, looking for role models. And a lot of times, as this rapper always say, that a young child's eyes catch light like glitter catch glue. You know what I mean? And when you got a young kid trying to find something to do, trying to find his identity, he's going to flock whatever's fascinating to him. And I spent a lot of time in Chicago looking out the window, watching the streets, watching the sounds.
So you were born in Chicago?
Oh, I apologize. Yes, I was raised in Chicago. I was born in North Carolina, but my family migrated to Chicago in the early 60s. So I spent a lot of time on the west side of Chicago watching the sound, smelling the sounds and all the kind of stuff just in the inner city life. And I was growing up. It was fascinating to me because my mom would always have us in the house when the street lights came on. So a lot of my time was spent out looking out the window, watching people go, watching people come, and you get to see stuff you thought was good. It may have been flamboyant, it may have been loud, but in hindsight it wasn't good. But when you're a young child growing up, you say, okay, this is what a man is, because you see males out in the street. It took me a long time to realize the difference between a male and a man. But at the time, I thought a man was somebody who had a pocket full of money, had a big car, do what he wanted to do, that kind of loud talking, smoking, cussing.
Impression of a young child, a young kid.
Yeah, I was twisted because I didn't really understand that the people out in the street was doing something out of necessity, not out of desire. And here I was growing up to desire to be a part of street life, which is bad on my part, but that's how we get caught up. You don't know. And I think my mom, being a single parent, I would listen to her, but I had convinced myself, couldn't no woman tell a young man how to be no man, because she got me in the house when the sun come in, she got me doing this and doing that, and all the other men I see was doing what they want to do. So I would listen to her and be respectful, but all the time, I'm waiting for my chance. When she turned the corner, I'm going the other way, see what I can get into. And lo and behold, you start out, like you say, smoking cigarettes, start out drinking wine, start out gambling, and before you know it, you got an adolescent. I was an adolescent doing adult things. Now, I didn't have, might have had adult desires. I didn't have adult intellect. And it got me in a lot of trouble because, I started drinking, I started gambling, started using drugs, smoking weed and that kind of stuff. And before you know it, I had lost sight of who I was and who I wanted to be. When I was around my family and my folks, I was one way. As soon as the light was out, you know, it was like I was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And I got caught up basically playing both sides against the middle. And man, when people say, when did you realize you was messed up? I woke up in jail.
Okay, well, Richard, let us stop right at that point for our first commercial break, after which we'll come back and we'll pick up at that particular point. And we'll be back with you following this very, very short commercial break. In a real sense,